Good evening and welcome to the Speakeasy podcast. I am your host, Constance Willard, and tonight we are pleased to present to you another series on dating and Christian relationships. And tonight, the experts are here. Yes, they are back in the room, and our topic of discussion tonight is cheating really a risky business? Is cheating really a risky business? And so we're going to have a candid discussion on cheating tonight, why individuals choose to cheat, because that's what it is. It's a choice. Why do we make those choices? Why do we risk our investment that we have in our relationships and in our marriages, all due to the great C word of cheating? And so tonight, I'm going to bring up Siobhan, the relationship strategist. Good evening, Siobhan. How are you?
Good evening. I'm well, Miss Constance. How are you?
I am great. And thank you so much for joining us in this discussion tonight. It's going to be a hot one.
I know it.
Yes, indeed. It's going to be a hot one, but I feel it's one that needs to be had. So I thank you so much for joining us. And so next, we have Pastor Robert Cockfield. And I can't get him to come up. Okay, so we're going to continue to talk, Siobhan. You and I. Okay. We're going to continue the conversation as I try to get them up. I'm going to tell them to log out and come back in because I can't bring them up. But here they are. Okay. But anyway, just kind of give us your thoughts and your insight on cheating.
Cheating. Well, if you talk to 3-4 different people, you probably get 3 or 4 different perspectives or answers of what actually cheating is, unfortunately. Sometimes that can be because someone's trying to be manipulative, Sometimes people won't say what cheating is because it's an act of omission. Okay, well, you didn't ask me about this and we didn't establish this, so, is it really cheating? Other times it's the guidelines were out there and maybe they changed their mind. Other times they're just being sneaky and nasty. And they, like you said earlier, it's a choice. Cheating, it breaks trust. You cross over those boundaries. A lot of times people don't take accountability for it. Sometimes people don't speak up until they're actually caught. And even when they're caught, sometimes they lie about it. But it can truly ruin a relationship. But I will have to caveat with this that it can actually, and this is definitely not putting any type of blame on a person who is cheated on, but a lot of times what I found is that people who cheat, there's a deeper issue and it can really bring that issue to the surface. And then if the person is willing, if both parties are willing, that will give them a chance to be able to go and dig up that issue, work on it, patch up that hole so that way cheating can't be used as an excuse. It takes a big person. It takes actual forgiveness. It might take some outside help, but that can be I'm trying to give you a positive outcome. We know the other side, leaving and fighting and fussing because of all that stuff, could be warranted, but it could be a positive side to it. I'll say that.
And so you mentioned that sometimes that cheating is due to underlying issues an individual may be dealing with or going through. So just kind of walk us through that and give us some ideas.
Absolutely. So sometimes people cheat because number one, they've seen it done in the past. So they've grown up around people who cheated, and that's just what they know. This is, or people have been said, okay, that's, and I'm just using this as an example because I've heard this. That's what men do. They're expected to cheat, things of that nature, or women are expected to be with a man and know that they'll end up cheating. I've seen and heard that. But sometimes the underlying issues have to do with maybe you're afraid. It's like, I have to get you before you get me. It could be some insecurity. Um, let me think of some more. They could just be a nasty person. That's just what they do. Maybe they don't really care about the person. And that was all along that's just who they are. They don't like to be monogamous, but maybe they didn't share that with the person that they're with. So I probably could go on and on, but that's just some of the reasons why, some of the underlying issues, blaming it on some of those items as to why they cheat. And so they'll go to another person. Well, they'll say, okay, well, she does this better, or she understands me, or she listens to me, or he was there for me when I needed him. You were always on the road, whatever the case may be. So they've used the other person as a gap filler to try to fulfill a need that they feel that the other person should be providing to them. And what we don't realize is, we hear the term all the time, he completes me, or I want my person to be my other half. But in actuality, that's kind of, I don't even want to go and say toxic, because it doesn't necessarily have to be toxic. But when you're relying on another person to complete you or give you your happiness or your peace, that's a lot of pressure for everybody, because they're human beings and they're just not going to be able to do it 100% of the time. And coming from different walks of life, what you consider as fulfillment might be totally different than the other person. And then there's some letdown. So a lot of miscommunication. So that's, yeah, that's some of
Yeah.
the symptoms and some of the reasons why you might end up in that situation, like an underlying issue.
Okay, thank you so much, Siobhan, for sharing that with us. So, Pastor Cockfield, I know you have some things to say. So
Oh, I
come
shall.
on and bring it.
As I do. I do. So, this scripture, I'm using this for a reason. 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It's not irritable. It keeps no record of being wrong. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up. Love never loses faith, is always hopeful, and endures through every circumstance. So, just in reading that, if I want to just be biblical about this, just the stuff I read, it's kind of going to the relationship strategist point that she just made. I think that number one for me is transparency. And in reading that passage in that scripture, I think, for me, you get married, and that stuff that we're supposed to do if we love each other, we don't do. And we remember things and trying to find wrong in each other and all that other stuff. And so if you're not careful, then it becomes, I call it a tennis match. You just volleying back and forth about what stuff gets out of hand. Other people get involved in this stuff outside, and you got trouble. So I'm gonna speak for me. I've been in a relationship now 41 years and 38 going on a divorce. And people ask, man, that's a long time. But I'm the first to tell you that since we talking about cheating and is it worth it? No, it's too expensive. It costs. It does. So that's the first thing I want to put out there. First of all, you got to remember folks' names and addresses, and then people talking about, it's free. That stuff ain't free. Y'all know what stuff I'm talking about too. That stuff ain't free. You pay for that. It costs. It costs some money. And so none of it is free. And then you got to add to the fact, especially if you're married and you got some extra stuff, then your income, debt to income ratio just gets all out of whack. Is terrible. And then you lying. the lies you tell. I done told so many lies back in the day in my part. No, this is being transparent. Because why are we gonna do this if you're not gonna be honest? I've done it before. See, because the relationship strategist said this. If you've seen it before, and then you got people telling you it's okay as long as you take care of your house and all that stuff, and your children and all that stuff, it's okay. Just don't bring it in the house. The part they don't tell you is it costs. So that's what's second thing. It does cost. It costs you psychologically, socially, physically. It costs you all kind of ways. And here's my third thing I just want to throw out there. So in reading that passage, in a relationship that I've been in, you just lose sight of everything because you get in this hole. Now, it's not to say that God couldn't help you to get out of it, the Father, Son, and Spirit, or there was ways out of it. It's just that the enemy who come to kill, steal, and destroy loves to make you feel as if now, how are you going to fix this? And I want to throw that third thing out there. See, that makes it even worse. When you trying to fix something that you didn't have fixed in the first place, you already was broke. That's why you went into that stuff. And then you just exacerbate the problem instead of really addressing your issues. And that's where the lie come in. We spend so much time blaming everybody else for our actions. Every action has a reaction. And, unfortunately, when you get entangled like that, and let me throw this out here, and I know this gonna sound real street, but people don't realize your spouse or him or her is not the only one who can have sex and do stuff. I'll just say it like that. So when you do go out there, sometimes people don't want to be honest. You get out there and find the right one. It's gonna be hell to pay, trying to recover, because there's some people out there that know what they're doing to keep you out there doing stuff you ain't got no business. I'm just throwing it out there. So I think that if we're not careful, we just don't be honest about this situation, it can be terrible. And like the relationship strategy says, there are ways out of it. It doesn't have to be all bad. It could be fixed. It could be repaired. But do you really want to do that? And I think that's the $1 million question. Once you get in it, do you really want to stop? I just want to leave it at that, as we get started.
Thank you so much. And you're right. Do you want to, first of all, make the investment? Because it's an investment. It's a full investment of yourself, your feelings, your heart, your time, looking past things that may have hurt you and being accepting. It's an investment. So do you really want to make that investment? And my biggest question is, do I really want to work that hard? Is it worth me working that hard to do all this stuff? That's my biggest question. Do I really want to work that hard? Now, if it were a situation where I were in a good relationship, good marriage, everything's going good, that person is doing what they're supposed to do, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, but we're all flawed. Things happen. So do you ever stop to think, wow, look at what I've got invested in this thing. Do I want to give that up? Am I willing to lose dividends? Because that's what you're doing. Am I willing to lose the dividends in this investment? So there's some things you have to ask yourself. And again, it's all about the choices that we make. It's all about the choices, and I tell young women all the time, they've been cheated on, man did them wrong, so I'm going to go out there. The best way to get over one man is to get under another one. That is not true. That is not true, because I'm old school and I still believe that double standards exist. We as women cannot compete on the same level with men like that, because tomorrow they can lay in that gut all night, tomorrow put that suit on, and they are still Mr. Somebody. But let you as a woman do it, tomorrow you're a hoe. You're a hoe, you're no good. You're a disgrace to society.
Well, let me say this, no. I'm going to throw this out here. I'm going to let y'all keep going. There are some women out there. Not saying, no, I do know, because I've been there back in the day. There's some women out there that they can give you a run for your money now. I know, I hear that a lot where, people say, oh, no, these men, the woman look like a hoe. No, I done seen some. I've been around some women. They'll make you feel like the hoe. So I'm gonna make that clear. There's some professionals out there that really know what they're doing. Just because they're a female don't mean that they can handle their business. Like get you in and get you out just like an oil change. They know how to handle it. So I'm just being honest about that. I just want to throw that caveat out there.
Okay. So to get back on double standards, what I tell young women is the best way to get back at a man is to let him know you don't need him. You go out there, you have your career, you buy your own stuff, you maintain your own stuff, you don't have to ask him for anything. And when he sees that you're okay without him, he kind of like, wow, look at all what she's doing without me. Maybe I should have stayed. I don't know. Start having some second thoughts. That's the only way you can get back. Using your body to get back at a man, not going to work. But your talent and your wherewithal and your faith is what gets him back. What gets him back. So I am going to yield the mic to Mr. To Act Accordingly, Daniel Williams. So what do you have to impart into this discussion tonight?
Listen, man, you're giving some good stuff. I'm just going to talk about me. The men in my family, that was the title to live up to, was to be a hoe. It was like the Williams men, you know how we do. So I got that conditioning early on. It was still a choice, but it was just a conditioning. It's what ran through the family. So I kind of got into that, and I was just, it was a lack of impulse control for me. I wasn't even really counting the numbers, but once I got that first encounter, I was never faithful or committed to anybody. Nobody could say they had a hand on me because I had a girlfriend on the girlfriend and I had a jump off on the jump off. So nobody ever had me. It was a lack of, I was like the dog chasing after the cars. I saw one going this way and I see another one and I'd run that way. I know a lot of dudes, it's just, you don't even know why we do it. It's just, I say it's a lack of impulse control, and the risk in the thing is that, I never got the time to learn how to be emotionally mature to even want to consider just being straight with one person. I never learned that because of that it was an addiction. That was, I think that's worse than drugs and alcohol, actually, because there's something about that endorphin rush, nothing like it. And even though I know it may be the same thing, it's the same feeling, it's the same thing with a different person, but it's still something. You think you act like it's going to be something different. I stepped out on my first marriage a lot. I was a habitual. I went in with a girlfriend. I entered into it with a girlfriend, had a girlfriend on her, and a lot of what allowed me to continue to keep going, and for a lot of men, some women and women too, is the fact that who I was with, they were never really that stern and stood up. So I kept taking another inch and another inch and kept running with it. That's why a lot of habitual cheaters are habitual cheaters, because who they're with, for whatever reason, it might be something about their self-esteem might have already been bad before they met them. It's like a predator and prey type of thing. Like you were saying earlier, a woman who knows her worth and she owns her own things and she goes out and does her thing. I really wouldn't even go and try and play games with a woman like that, because I know it's no win in that. A cheater that wants to be a cheater, or a man that doesn't want to be faithful, a woman that doesn't want to be faithful, they don't bother with somebody who's strong and has a direction and know what they want and has a standard and they're not going to let it drop for anything. So, you know, we end up with the other ones that kind of float along and be like, oh, well, he's good at this. He ain't so bad, you know, and they just carry on. That's where I was.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. So you went into the marriage with a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And did she know you were getting married?
Yeah. You know what? I don't know if I was being a cheater, but I was honest. I let them all know up front. You're not gonna be able to. You're not gonna have me. This is. I'm not. I'm not even saying I'm exclusive to you. Even when I was married, I let the ladies know. I was like, listen, I'm married. If you still want to mess, if you still want to deal with me, then you know we can go forward. And you know, so they ended up not being any better than me. So because I didn't lie to them, they didn't find out later down the line. They entered into the relationship knowing that I was married. So it showed just how much. And you know, doing. I said that I love my wife, and I did, but at the same time, I it was so selfish of me that I didn't even realize that was being abusive. I was being abusive too. I was really, after it was all settled and done, and time had passed, years had passed, we couldn't reconcile. I decided to cut it all loose, but we couldn't reconcile. It was too late. I'd done too much, and I really realized how I really destroyed her trust. She let me know how I tore her self-esteem down and everything, and it was all because, you know, I felt like I was a great provider. You didn't have to worry about anything. Never had to worry about home being repossessed, cars being repossessed, food, clothes. You know, you had nice things. We did things and whatnot. So it was like how it was conditioned from. It's like, hey, long as you taking care of the house, you kind of got a little freedom to go and do what you want to do. And I took that wrong mindset because that's how I was conditioned from a little boy, from being around those cousins, those uncles that was real fly, and it made it. And like they talk about the double standard, they made that double standard. They make it look like that was cool. That was all right because he drove the nice car, he drove the nice suit, had the nice hats, you know, and all of that. And even the ladies would, the family members of ladies or even women out in the street, they would laugh and joke about it and be like, yeah, he's so cool. We know you're a hoe, but you still good with me. And so it made it all right.
Wow. Wow. That's too much for me to fathom. Too much for me to fathom. Tracy, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Wow. It's a lot of good information, but
Yes. Yes.
it's the truth. I'm going to say, as far as dealing with cheating, one of the things that I've learned is that people are trying to fill a void and they don't even know what the void is. Just like Mr. Actor Courtney was talking about, sometimes you mimic what you see. And so because of that, if you don't have the right direction or the right skill, now sometimes you see what's right, but some people right is wrong. So it just depends on which direction you go into. And it also depends on the spouse that you have. And so in my situation, it was basically, told to me that if you feel like you need to go out there and be with another man because of what I'm not doing, then it's okay. But you also want to use the standard of, because you are a woman of God, you should know better. So the truth is, what happens is when you decide you're going to go step out, then it's a whole different process of what you're going to do. And then as far as cheating, the relationships strategy, she stated, sometimes you go out there not anticipating on the fact that you're going to hurt somebody. As far as in marriages, when you get to a place or to a point where you get comfortable, the thing about it is knowing your needs, knowing your self-worth, knowing the things. And sometimes some relationships are not even intentional. Sometimes it's not even about the sex. Sometimes it's the most relationships, I tell people, most relationships, as far as cheating, it starts on the telephone. You get to know that person, you get to know who they are, things are being said, even Constance was talking about, as far as, when you feed somebody, or, it's like women, people talk about men cheating, but women know what to do, and sometimes men can be very gullible, and you thinking you trying to be gullible to that woman, but it's women who can be very, very gullible and strategic and knowing what they're doing. And a lot of times people don't get to a place where, they don't even ask the question, are you married nowadays? Because a lot of men, some men don't even wear their ring, and so even in the relationship that I was in, my ex, he never wore his ring, say he was allergic to gold. I said, okay, well, let's go get you a titanium or whatever. And he still wouldn't wear it. He still wouldn't wear his ring. So it gets to a point where I was basically walking naked, never covered. And even act accordingly. When you was talking about, this is so true, because the bills are covered, because you making sure everything is taken care of, you make that act okay. So it's okay. That's why we talk about Papa was Rolling Stone, wherever he laid his head was his home, but he never brought it to the house. And in my life, I have seen many things where I have seen where the woman, the other woman was being bought, leather coats, and and my mother thinking it is for her, and it was for somebody else. So it's different pointers. But one of the things I was reading, as far as dealing with cheating, it says cheating is a deception to profit to yourself. So that tells me, when you go out here and cheat, you're looking for some type of profit, whether it's sex. Like I said, excuse what I'm about to say. It's this term that I just learned, and I don't know if I need to use it or not, but basically, but for cash. I could say the other part, but people saying, I said, if I would have known that, I should be rich. So, if you get to a point or to a place where, you're looking at that, and I mean, and because of the field that I'm in, I look at a lot of people, and matter of fact, I had did this thing dealing with Let's Talk About It. And it was so funny, because it was supposed to be a church conference. But one of the questions that I asked, I said, why does the power of the P, meaning whether it could be the P or the P, define who we are? And so because of that, them women, they were like, did she really say that? Yes, I did. But what ended up happening, I learned a lot of lessons. The lady said, well, I was a hoe. And she allowed that to define who she was. One lady said, oh, that's how my bills got paid. And I'm looking at them like, what? You mean to tell me I could have been getting paid the whole time? I ain't know that. So in dealing with those things and situations with my life, I've always been the type of person, that just because somebody say, hello, how you doing? Or are you okay? Or sometimes you could be in a situation where you're caring for somebody and you don't even realize that, sometimes you could become, gullible, or you start caring, and next thing you know, you're in a situation that you didn't even realize you were going to be in. And even like the pray, you're praying God for somebody, and you don't even know that you're praying, but they already done prayed you, so it's like, with cheating in many different situations, what I have learned, people make it about the sex. Oh, she's good. But guess what? It could be somebody that's a whole lot better than that person. So I tell women, never get yourself to a point where you think that you all of that in the bedroom, because somebody can walk along and be even better. So you can't get there to that point. One of the things that I teach my young people, and dealing with that, is know who you are, and filling these voids. Get to the root of why you do what you do. Why do you feel like it's okay to cheat? Why is it that the truth comes out when you're dealing with situations? I tell people, I believe in some part of life, everyone has cheated, and people, once again, they make it about relationships. Cheating, again, is not necessarily cheating. Could be a diet. Cheating could be I overspent my money. Cheating could be I lied. Cheating, it's just different things that you can deal with going through the process. But when do you get to a point where you understand why you do what you do. I noticed that a lot of people who have been raped, molested, become very promiscuous. You know, they get to a point where, you know, some people, they turn it off. Then some people, oh man, it's like wildfire. It's being turned on, you know, or like I said, it's back to those conversations of knowing that someone actually is listening to them. A lot of times in marriage, 9 times out of 10, your spouse ain't really listening to you. They just want you to say what you got to say and be done with it. What happened to the communication or comprehending? Like I was, speaking with someone. When do you get to a point to? It's not just the communication. When do you get to a point where you comprehend what your spouse is saying? Because a lot of times people are misunderstood. Even with the word "Hi, how are you doing?" A lot of people read between the lines. The other thing, I grew up with guys. I grew up with men. So because of that, I've always hung out with a lot of men. So I learned a whole lot from a lot of guys, and I just be laughing. So because of that, I was always put in the category of, oh, you want my man. I said, I don't want your man, but I can have your man. So that's the difference. So it taught me a whole lot, and it would make me upset because I'm like, I'm just hanging with the guys. That's it. Because I prefer hanging with the men opposed to the women because it's always drama. So and I find more women coming to me and talking to me because they know I'm gonna give them the truth. And I tell people in a heartbeat, been there, done that. Been there, done that. I'm not perfect. Yes, I have cheated in my lifetime. And one thing that I have learned is that people always make this strategy: once a hoe, always a hoe. Well, I tell people, matter of fact, I told one of my ex, I told him, I said, you may have been a hoe, but that thing don't work the way it used to work. So you can do what you want to do. Because there's
Whoa.
high blood pressure. You can try to run around the world, run around the streets, do whatever you want to do. But sooner or later, it's going to give out. So what do you have to give after that? And I yield my mic.
All right, so Tracy, so 6:30 will happen one day.
Oh man.
Think about it, 6:30. One day is coming. It's coming. And so now I want to switch gears a little bit. How does it feel as one who's been the cheater doing all the cheating to be cheated upon?
I can tell you.
Uh-oh.
Mm-hmm. So this was way back. You know how folks got to put that disclaimer in there. This is way back. But look, check this out. So back in the day, I thought I was pimping, playing, and it's kind of like what William said. I thought I had it going on because I thought I had been trained by the best. My dad and brothers and all them people and people in the community. So anyway, I get out there, and the first several times I thought I was the pimp. I thought I had it going on, and I was slick about it. Now I still got home at a decent hour, made sure, like you said, everything's cool. I'm thinking nobody don't know nothing. So 3 quick things happened. So I met a chick that was, she was smoking, and I said, yeah, I got her. But it was one of those individuals that already had an A game, and I didn't know that. See, I slipped up. So I'm doing me. And one day she just came straight out and told me. She said, look here, man. She said, look, number one, I got a car. Matter of fact, my car better than yours. I got a house. My house better than yours. I got more money in the bank than you got. And she said, and you ain't the only man I'm sleeping with too. And she said, let me tell you something else. She said, you notice you come to the crib, I ain't never asked you to stay because you never going to stay at my house. And she said, you notice when you done, you got to get out. Because she did. She was like, get out. And I said, oh. And then when I left, I never said nothing to her. My feelings was hurt. I got in my feelings. I said, what? That's so distasteful. She was doing to me what I thought I was doing to her. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that song from the Ghetto Boys out of Houston. My mind was playing tricks on me. I thought I really had an A game. I didn't. I sucked. Let's go. Then later on, I'm a little middle-aged. Then you think I'm gonna get me a young lady. Like I want to still see if I got a V12, V8, whatever. And I tried that. Now, I ain't going to detail. I tried that one time, and I found out I had a Yugo. 4-cylinder. It's like twisted. The motor wasn't running like I thought it was. So I said, okay, well, I got that out of my system. Because, I'm being honest. Because as a man, that's on the bucket list. It's like, I got to make sure I still, that ain't work. But now let's fast forward. I was talking to my sons. I'm very transparent, my children. They shot me some months ago. They said, Pops, you really thought we were stupid. They said, man, we knew back in 61, 75, we knew you was nasty, you was hoeing. You was a good dad. Man. You provided and did all that. You did. Thank you for all the Christmas stuff and all. But man, you was nasty. You thought we didn't know. And we just played the game because we didn't want to get choked. But you was nasty. Now we grown. We almost 40. So now we having a real grown man-to-man conversation. And they told me, I said, what? You mean to tell me my game was weak? I thought I had my game together. They said, no, Pops, your game wasn't that good. But we already knew. So see what I'm saying? So this is the whole point behind all of this. There's plenty of people out there can outgame you. You know what I'm saying? You think you got a game. You ain't got no game. And that's it took me all these years to figure that out. It's always somebody gonna outgame you. And I think we just put a gender on that and think, well, they females. And I'm telling you, there's some females out there they don't even need no gasoline. They can just strike a match and you already on fire. You done. It's over. Huh? And they'll put that game on you just as good as you put the game on them. And it's going back to what Mr. Wade said. That's the truth. Like you don't intend to get people like that. You trying to find, I ain't trying to dishonor the Bible, the weaker vessel. You're trying to find somebody that you think don't know the game. But I'm telling you, there's some people out here, you try to play that game, they'll let you think you got all that, and man, they'll just cut the bottom out, saw your legs off. Yeah, that's it. Real in, you paying their bills. You broke before the payday even happened. They got you. They got what they wanted out of you, and you don't even know it. So I just want to throw it out there. That just to tell the truth. I'm done.
Well, we thank you so much for throwing. We thank you so much for throwing, because you definitely threw it out there. Okay. So let's switch this thing up a little bit more. If you knew now what you knew then, would you up your cheating game? Would you leave it alone, walk away, break away clean? As Little Milton said, break away clean. What would you do?
Why everybody quiet? I'm gonna say that. So y'all speak up, man. I'm gonna tell you, I'm done. I'm done. I'm too old. I can't remember stuff no more. Gas is just too expensive. It's too expensive. I can't afford it no more. And it's too expensive. And again, what is it gonna profit you? It don't. I mean, because it's like what Tracy said. It's like what the relationship strategy. Man, you just chasing nothing. Like you don't get anything out of that. And unfortunately, you leave those experiences empty. And that's sad. And it's like, once you sit down and really think about it, it's like, what did I get out of all of this? Nothing. That's time you can't get back, money you can't get back, time, talent, and treasure. It's gone. You can't get that stuff back. Just for, 5 or 10 minutes, at my age, I mean, that's crazy. That ain't worth it no more. 5-10 minutes of pleasure. I'm too old. So I just want to throw that. I know the rest of them was quiet. Let me mute my mic.
Okay. I'll tell you what, I jump in on that. Honestly, after it was all over with, it was like, it was more of a heaviness on me, because I thought about, I really left a lot of destruction behind me. Just different people that I dealt with, some people, boom, they just walked away. It was all good. Other people, one of the risky things about it is, you can end up with somebody who doesn't know how to let go emotionally, and you end up with a stalker. Mm-hmm. You get somebody that they won't leave you alone regardless, and it can turn into something really dangerous. I had a couple of those, hiding out behind fences and stuff at my job, waiting to see who's going to bring me to work, and park down the street, watching my home. Yo, it's a lot of negative stuff with that. But the heavier part of it that really brought me to a stop was, of course, it was once I realized how bad I was hurting my wife, but it was like in the stalker thing too. That really made me slow down. But it was like my baby girl. I really broke her heart when she found out about it, because she got my phone, and it wasn't pictures or anything in it, but she just saw a conversation. And my wife let me know. It hurt me more to hurt my daughter than it was to hurt my wife and whatnot, because, you know, I thought about it. I didn't really want her to have to experience that. That really made me pull back. But the whole thing in the beginning, it's just like anything else. I tell them it's just like with drugs. It starts out to be exciting and a fascination, and then it ends up becoming a habit to you till it becomes a burden. It takes over you, and then you lose control of it, and you're wondering why you can't stop, because you done got so stuck in that thing, and you just, oh, it's a burden on you emotionally, physically, yeah, financially, but the running, the having to run here, run there, keep your story straight and in a line. At the end of the day, nah, it's not even worth it, because of the trail you're gonna leave behind you. It's like I like you brought out the scripture. A man's name, you know, even though it may be a double standard, still you don't want that attached to your name when your kids are coming, when your kids come along, and the main thing they know about you is, oh yeah, man, your dad used to be a real slut bag in the day. He was out there all over the place. You know how your kids gonna live that, and that's what really made me straighten up, because I thought about them. My wife also, but I really wanted to pull my family back together and give them something a lot better than what I was giving them before. So now that the cheating, it's, yo, just control them impulses. Cause like I tell them fellas, I like, yo, it's the same thing over there. It may be a different moan, it might be a different groan, but yo, it's still the same thing, man.
Wow. 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 Tracy, do you have any comments to add?
Yes, I do. I think it would be totally different. I think as you get older, you learn, like I said, some things are not intentional, but they do become a choice. A lot of times women can be very emotional, but I've also learned that men can be very emotional as well. Um, it's being sensitive. Once again, the main thing is knowing who you are. And sometimes you can be in a position where, you know, you don't understand how you connect. Sometimes you really connect and build a relationship. Sometimes a lot of people look at the biggest fear of the way you met me. Are you going to do the same thing to me that you know, did, of course they talk about how you reap what you sow. But at the same time, I feel like, as you start building a relationship, as far as even with God and knowing your relationship with God, one of the things that I always ask myself, I say, God, will I ever get this right? And I believe now I'm in a place where I'm walking down that path. And I noticed the older you get, some things just don't matter like they used to. Even the run around, you get tired, like, Pastor Cotfield said, you get tired of running around. You get tired of, sometimes, even with people that cheat, you already know they lying, but basically sometimes it becomes a hobby, or it becomes, like he was saying, as far as an addiction. But you got to get to a place where you love yourself that much, where you put yourself in a position where some things you're not gonna, if you're gonna build a relationship with somebody, you build that relationship, with that person. So as you go through, your tests, your trials, even being, you either gonna be conformed to the world, or you're gonna wrestle with the principalities. But at the same time, you got to get to that place in a position where you make a decision of, what do you want? And then if you're going to build with somebody, one of the things we were talking in another thing, it was like I think no, it was in this show, but where someone said you get to a place where you build with somebody you need and not with somebody that you want. And you may not even get to a point where you, as you're walking in purpose, you got to ask yourself, does that person fit where you're going, where your destiny, and a lot of times one of the things that I learned about relationships is that we don't build each other up. We always talk about what you're not doing opposed to encouraging that person on where we're going, and what we're going to do and what's next. No, while you over here, I'm like, why we can't build this empire together? So you won't have to allow anybody to come in and knock on the door and say, hey, let me build this, but I'm gonna build it the way I want to, build it. You just got to walk together, and that's the process of getting to know who you are, and even getting to know who God is. So I believe that eventually, when you get to a point when you're really tired, and when you stop lying to yourself, I believe that you'll understand exactly what it is that you want. And one of the things that I talk to my sons about is breaking generational curses. And so my son always talks like, Mom, we're gonna break this generational, we're gonna break this generational curse. And he's happy, and I love the fact that he talks to his fiance about, hey, about breaking, because they saw, the damage that happened to them when me and their father went through our divorce. And it was to cheating, and a matter of fact, it was to a point where he felt like I was cheating on him with God. So it's like, if we're walking on in the relationship, you have to get to a place. But I always tell people, God first in all that we do, and I tell people, you can go to a hotel all day long, but you're gonna find a Bible there. So it's what is it that what is it that you really are wanting to benefit? Because one of the things, now don't think I'm crazy when I say this. I say I hate a wasted wash up. I get tired. Look, if I'm a cheat, make it worth my time. If you and I get to a point. Matter of fact, if I already know it ain't gonna be worth my time, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm either gonna have a stomach ache, and I'm like, I got to go, because I'm not gonna, I'm like, I know a sin is a sin, but at the same time, I'm not gonna waste mine. I'm sorry, and I yield my mic.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And Siobhan, any final remarks?
So, oh man, I'm sorry. Trying to get myself together. I'll be messed up with y'all. We be serious, but it'd be some silly stuff. But it's real. So I've never cheated, and so I can't give you the personal perspective of what I would change. But what I will say, that if a person is going to change, number one, they got to be intentional, and there has to be a behavior change. It might even take an environment change, but a lot of times it's your mind. You have to have a mindset shift, and you're going to have to realize, and if it gets to a point like it's an addiction, I heard that a few times here, there's some things that you cannot change yourself, so you're going to have to rely on the Holy Spirit and yield to him and let him actually do a work. And then you have to take one step forward, because sometimes we say, oh, we want God to change us. Holy Spirit, please change me. And he's saying, okay, we'll go out and do this new thing. And we're afraid, cast out that fear. We have to have that faith to step out and just make a new choice. And then once you start making that new choice, a new habit will occur, and you'll be able to do it. And then you do it a little bit, and you'll see that faith will build up. It'll build up, and you'll have a track record behind you, because sometimes people revert back because they feel like it's in them. And sometimes people are afraid of what they don't know. This is all, for example, this is all I've known my whole entire life. So what am I going to look like when I actually do this new thing? Whether, society is telling me that I'm right, or God convicted me, and now I know that, I need to make a change. But what's it going to look like? So just your behavior, your mindset, your heart, and your words, they all have to shift and change into this new perspective, and just walk in it. It can be done. There's people, and like Tracy said, you hear the term, once a cheater, always a cheater. That's not the truth. If you really want to make that turn, you absolutely can. And believe that. Don't we label ourselves sometimes, unfortunately, So stop labeling yourself. If that was in your past, let your past go. Forgive yourself. You ask God for forgiveness. You got to have to forgive yourself too and other people, and focus on take accountability for the things that you have done wrong and move on. And I'll go ahead and yield my mic right there.
Thank you so much. And as I always say, learn to forgive your younger self. Forgive your younger self, because those things that we did when we were young and foolish, we cannot go back and change those. And we cannot continue to allow ourselves to be beat down by those things. We make a conscious decision to move forward and to do better. So forgive your younger self. And those are my parting remarks for tonight. And so I want to thank each of you tonight for coming and sharing and being very transparent, very candid, because this is a discussion that is much needed and it needs to continue. And at some point, it will continue. And so, to our listening audience, until next week, we thank you so much for coming in and tuning in. And may God continue to bless you richly today, tomorrow, and always. And have a good night.